Well, today I want to talk about Second Bull Run, and most specifically, what I have so far designed for this battle. Here we have Lee's army. You have Longstreet's command, and you have Jackson's command. Longstreet has 7 blocks. Jackson has 10. But Longstreet has 5 infantry blocks. Jackson has 3. With Jackson, you also have Stuart's 2 cavalry blocks. You have 3 detachments, his artillery, and the bags. In Second Bull Run, you essentially have Jackson facing as much as the Union Army can throw at him. And he's helped by Longstreet on day 1. And then at the end of day 1, Longstreet leaves. Lee did not want to fight an offensive battle. Day 2, Lee reluctantly brings Longstreet back eventually, after constant pleading by Jackson. As I go through the battle, I'll explain how this comes up. To set up the South, you begin the game with Jackson set up west of the abandoned rail line and south of Bull Run. And that's where he has to hold. Now, to make his defense strongest, you want to unpack bags. But as soon as you unpack bags, the Union Army has a definite target. So when and where you unpack your bags is very critical. I believe that many, if not most games, will be decided based on where and when Jackson unpacks his bags. When Longstreet comes on, he comes up the Warrenton Turnpike. So this is my thinking process as I set up Jackson's defense. I'm going to start by placing my artillery on the south side of Sudley Mountain. This is Sudley Mountain right here. I'll place the bags back here. I'll place the detachments along the abandoned railway in the woods so they have some cover. I'll back them up with Ewell and D.H. Hill, and I'm going to put A.P. Hill back here behind the mountain. This is an elite block, and I want to be able to put it wherever becomes critical. There's Jackson on top of the mountain. Now we have Stuart and his 2 cavalry blocks. Now when the Union arrives, some of them will be arriving on this road, and a lot of them will be coming right down the Warrenton Turnpike. The cavalry is critical in delaying both. Now you'd really like to place both of them on the left flank or the right flank. With 2 cavalry blocks, you could prevent the Union reinforcements from the north making it to the battle, or if you place them south, you could prevent the southern route from making it to the battle. But you gotta put 1 on each. You don't gotta, you probably oughta, put 1 on each to delay either arriving force as long as you can. Right here's a quiet hamlet of Sudley Springs, and here's a bridge across the Bull Run. So the cavalry can come up this way to the Union's consternation. In the south, I'm going to place a cavalry block here in column. My final critical decision is where am I going to place Stuart? He can't be in command of the northern block and the southern block at the same time. Now in pub battles, you don't need to have the HQ in command to simply move. You only need them to attack. So if I place them with this cavalry, then this cavalry can not only delay, but they can attack. They're not just sitting there. But then this cavalry can only delay and not attack. Which do I want to make my aggressive one? I'm going to place them up north. That is my Confederate setup. Longstreet will enter day 1, turn 3. Here we have the Union Army, commanded by Pope. Now Pope is in command of the newly formed Army of Virginia. And all the units are technically Army of Virginia. Here you have the 1st and 3rd Corps Army of Virginia. 3 other corps are listed as Army of Potomac. You have the 3rd Corps under Heintzelman, 5th Corps under Porter, and 9th Corps under Reno. Now they're all part of the new Army of Virginia, but I keep them separate. They still thought of themselves as Army of Potomac, and there was a lot of issue with them not liking being under Pope's command. In the game, Pope is the Army commander, but in this instance, as Army commander, he can only activate when Army of Virginia 1st Corps under Sigel, Virginia 3rd Corps under McDowell activate. Now all 3 of the baggage trains and all 3 of the Union artillery blocks are under Pope. This arrangement could play out rather awkwardly. I don't want to tie the hands of the Union commander as much as Pope's were tied. Players should be free to make their own mistakes, but there are some real concerns with this divided northern command. When you set up, all 3 of the baggage trains, 1 of the artillery, and Heintzelman's Army of Potomac 3rd Corps are all coming down the Warrenton Turnpike. At Manassas Junction, you have Army of Potomac 3rd Corps under Reno. And coming in on the southern road here is Porter. McDowell, who is the commander of the Army of Virginia 3rd Corps, will enter on day 2 with 1 division and 1 block of artillery. The rest of McDowell's command and the other artillery will set up east of, this is Newmarket Road, into Pope's force will be Sickles' Army of Virginia 3rd Corps. Now they just have to be east of Newmarket Road. They could set up down here, but they're trying to attack and attack quickly up here on Sudley Mountain. So what they're really wanting to do is set up right here around Buck Hill. They must be 1/3 of an infantry move away from any Confederate units. So I'm setting up Sickles' 1st Corps right behind Stony Ridge, ready to attack. Pope, his artillery, and 1 block of infantry, their intention is to set up here, east of Groveton, and be able to fire artillery into Jackson's troops and any troops that might be coming up the Warrenton Turnpike. He'll have another block in reserve. Now I said earlier that Lee pulls Longstreet's corps off at the end of day 1. Now if they don't ever come back, all that Jackson has to do is survive the Confederates. However, but the Southern player can add Longstreet's chit to the cup at the beginning of any turn on day 2, and then Longstreet can come back in. If Longstreet comes back in, the shoe's on the other foot. Now he must break the Northern Army. Any other result is a Northern victory. So at any time, if the North breaks Jackson, the North wins. On day 2, if Longstreet comes back in, then the South must destroy the Northern Army to win. This can make for a very tense decision. Fairly often Jackson looks like he's about to break. At the same time, a few good rolls and suddenly the North has nothing. It's probably very close to breaking. Very tense. When do I bring Longstreet in, if at all? So you've got the whole map to play on, but you'll only use the edge. Just like you've got your whole seat to sit on while you play, but you'll only use the edge.